Welcome to the demonstration of Xero. In this demonstration, I'm going to show you the key features of how Xero can help your practice. This is our demonstration program. Some of the data in here looks a little odd, but nevertheless, with this demonstration, I'll be able to show you the key features of Xero. The two main differentiating features of Xero is that it has an unlimited number of users. So you and as many of your colleagues can use this program with different levels of access, and I'll show you how that works. Updates are free and you don't need to do anything to make the updates. They happen automatically, and because this is a cloud-based program, you'll find that you can access this from wherever you have internet access. So very quickly, let me show you. This is the dashboard. This is kind of your home page, and what you can see on here is your bank accounts, your petty cash, any other accounts you might have. You can see here on the dashboard how much money is owed to you. You can see here the details here and how much money you need to pay. So on one page here, we've got a whole picture of the practice's finances. If I want to show you how to limit the number of users or how to give permission to use the program, you click in Settings and you find Users. You enter the person's first name, last name and email, and here you specify the level of access you want to give them. Read only would really be appropriate for, say, partners in the GP practice who are going to be looking and seeing how well the practice is doing without necessarily actually doing any work in the program. Invoicing only, you may have somebody in the practice who does the invoicing, either issues invoices to CCGs or patients or NHS England, or records invoices when they come in. Unlike other programs like Iris or Excel, with Xero you can actually record invoices when they come in, and they're included in the program at the date of the invoice rather than when you pay them. So you get a much clearer picture of the practice's finances. You can have this person entering invoices in draft so that they're approved by somebody else, or you can actually have them entering invoices completely and actually going into the program. You can restrict their access to the sales side, issuing invoices to various customers or CCGs or NHS England, or purchases, so restricting the invoicing or the invoices to those that the practice receives and have to be included in the program. Standard access is typical for practice managers, bookkeepers, accountants working on the clients on your GP finances. You have all these bits in here that are ticked. Non-cash coding, that's an advanced part of Xero where you can do bulk coding. When we look at the bank, I'll show you that later. You have permission to do that or not do that, and you'll notice that when we went from invoicing to standard, these items down here stopped being greyed out. If you have standard access, you have a practice manager who has standard access, they can have permission to invite other users or to remove other users. They can have permission to deal with the payroll and also to contact the bank. You fill in all these bits and you continue. And I didn't put in a name here, so let's say John Smith. Continue. Continue. And you'll find that there's an invitation that can be personalised that goes to that individual. They get the email from Xero and they set up their login details, their username and their password. And then, just as I have here, they can log in from wherever they've got internet access. Going back to the dashboard, I mentioned before that this is a cloud-based program, so it works in the cloud. Now, one of the great things with Xero is it can link to your bank account. And here we're saying get bank feeds because the bank feed isn't set up. This is all dummy data. But once the feed is set up, the bank transactions will go directly from the bank into the program. So the program will have all the bank transactions that go through the bank. It makes bank reconciliations very straightforward because nothing can be missing. So what you have to do You just have to tell Xero where to place the various transactions. You'll see here there are two numbers. There's a statement balance on the 14th of January. That's actually the bank account balance, the real balance. This balance in Xero is how many items that have been downloaded into the program have actually been posted. So the difference is these 40 items here that have yet to be posted. So let's go and have a look. What you have in Xero when you look into reconciling the bank is two columns. You have the bank statement. This is actually the bank statement. And then what you're going to do with it. So this is where the bits you need to work on. Now, there are four options here. Four options with what you're going to do. You'll see here, by the way, that actually Xero has come up with suggestions for nearly all of these things because Xero remembers how you posted them before. So it thinks, okay, Viking, yeah, that's Viking, and it needs to go in printing, postage and stationery. And then all you need to do is click OK and it's gone. There we are, that's posted. Let's take off the auto suggestions so that we are going to do this ourselves. We'll come back to this one. This one here, Tesco's £5.20 spent. Who's it for? It's for Tesco's. It's already in there. What is it going to be for? Let's supposing it's sandwiches. So let's say staff welfare. You start to type and up will come various options, staff welfare. And you click. So you're creating here, you're creating a payment within Xero. And the number of transactions that need to be posted will have gone down now to 38. 40 if you remember before. The post office, £124. Well, the same post office, postage will be in here. Printing, postage and stationery. Postage and stationery. Okay, but we're not going to do that. If you had put an invoice in the system, which I'll show you how to do shortly, if you had done that, so you weren't just using this as a kind of a cash book, but you were actually using this in a more sophisticated way, and you were recording invoices when they came into the practice, you wouldn't want to show this as a payment to postage and stationery. You'd want to match this against the invoice that you set up. So you would put in match, and then you'd have to find it. Now there's lots of stuff in here because this is our demonstration program. If there was an invoice for postage for the 1st of June, Xero will find it, and in fact we'll do that so you can see that. So matching would be to match against an invoice. If it's a transfer to another account, you just tell it which account it's a transfer to and click OK, and off it goes. If you don't know what to do, you click on discuss and you write a comment as we have here, Laurie help, and you save it, and then you email Laurie and say, Laurie help, have a look at my bank account, I've got a problem. And you work your way through this, and when you've finished, you will find that these two figures will be the same. And what you've done is you've posted every item here into their expense code or their income code, and then you can run reports that'll show you how profitable or how unprofitable you might be. Supposing you wanted to put this into an account for Tesco's, let's say milk. You want to have an account for milk. We don't have an account for milk, I shouldn't think. No, we don't. We need a new account for milk. We can go back to our settings and we go to the chart of accounts. Now we upload a chart of accounts which has pretty much as many things that you can think of. We need an account now for milk. This is going to be you can see we've got assets, we've got equity, we've got expenses, we've got revenue. This is going to be an expense. Milk is an overhead. Overhead or expense is the same thing. We need to put a code for this, so let's put in 181D. For no particular reason other than I know it hasn't been used, and this is what we want to have for milk. And we don't need to fill in this bit here, and we'll say save. So when we go back to our dashboard, remember our home page, our landing page, we've got 38 items to reconcile. Tesco's is still here. This is Tesco's, and we want a code for milk. There we are, milk. Good. Okay, that's now been posted to milk. And you just work your way through this. Every day you look in this, you'll find more transactions from the bank. So this is kept right up to date. I mentioned before, Go back to the dashboard. Invoices owed to you, bills you need to pay. Let's supposing you got a bill from was that Tesco's for £124? The post office, wasn't it? Post office, £124. So remember this. At the moment, this is waiting for us to create something. But we got an invoice from the post office. Let's pretend we got an invoice on the 1st of June. So we have a new invoice, and this is from the post office. Post office. This was the 1st of June 2016 with our invoice, and we were going to pay on the 1st of July. This is for the post office. Stamps. You never put anything in this column here. You always enter a quantity, which is typically going to be 1, and the price. So let's say this was, well, this was £124. And this is for postage, so printing, push and stationery, that will do. And we're going to create an invoice in Xero. We're going to post the invoice in Xero is what I should say. If I go back to my dashboard, remember this was June 2016. Bills we need to pay. Well, we've got 48 bills overdue. Because this is done sometime after June 16, it's probably going to be in here. So if we can find a bill for next page, for the post office, £124, here we are. So this is within that great list of amounts that are outstanding, awaiting payment. If I go back to our dashboard, our home page, and I want to reconcile these items, Xero has now found there's an invoice for the post office for £124 and it wants to match it. I just have to click OK, and that's posted. That's how you issue invoices in Xero. How you record invoices, I should say, not issuing invoice. Supposing you want to issue an invoice to a patient. Let's put in a patient. So this is to patient X. Today's date, and we want to say this is for flu vaccines. It was 5 because we did the whole family at a unit price of £75 each, and £25. This is private fees, and we'll approve that. We'll issue that invoice. So that invoice is now in Xero. It's now recorded as income. We can, from here, once we've set this up, we can print it off. We can print the invoice off and send it to our patient. Here's our invoice, private flu vaccines. We can email it. Email it to our patient and edit it, and we can include the PDF attachment if we want to. We can even in Xero set up a automatic email reminder so that every week or every 2 weeks that patient will get a reminder saying this invoice remains outstanding. And when you go back to your dashboard, invoices owed to us, well, we've got, let's have a look, it'll probably be in here. We're owed this amount of money. That was a different one. We'll go back and invoices owed to you. Future. Patient X, this is the one we just did. And remember, because this is internet based, anyone who's got access to the program that we set up with the users, they can be looking at this and they can say, what was this? They can click into this and they can get all this information. Wherever you see this logo, and you'll see it pretty much everywhere in Xero, you can click on it and you can upload the original invoice or the original document. So you might want to have in here the flu invoice, the immunisation invoices that you want to include in here. If it was a purchase invoice, so you were recording an invoice you'd received, you might want to attach that original invoice to the transaction in Xero. So again, anyone who's got access to this, they can actually look at the individual transaction here, and they can call up the actual paperwork the file this relates to. So you can use Xero as a completely paperless accounting exercise. Let's go back to our dashboard. So the bank is pretty straightforward. Invoices owed to you, bills you need to pay. So if you're used to using Iris or you're used to using Excel and you're not really worried about taking it any further than that, you can just work here. You can just reconcile items as you go along. If you want to take it a step up, you can actually put invoices in as you receive them, bills you need to pay. So that's how we did it before. And you can issue invoices from here. This will give you a more complete picture of the practice finances, but it may be a step further than you want to go originally. You may just want to use the practice bank account. It's an easy way to record all the bank transactions that go through the program. Reports. There's a great feature in Xero of Budget Manager. For every item we have in our chart of accounts, that was up here, the chart of accounts. For every item we have in our chart of accounts, we have the ability to include a figure that we expect to be receiving or spending out in our budget. You fill this out at the beginning of the year. It's a bit of a pain to get used to start. Let's suppose in drug reimbursement we're expecting £3,000 a month. £3,000. Zero too many. 3,000. Click on that little green arrow. We can have the fixed amount each month. Okay, 3,000 a month. We could have adjusted that. We can overtype this and say this one's going to be 3,300, 3,300, and we save it. We could, if we wanted, we could export this. We could export this into Excel and then change the figures on an Excel, which may be easier, and then import it back in. And that's one way we could do it, which would be a way of working on this outside of Xero if you wanted to set the budget up that way. What you can then do is produce a profit and loss account, which will then compare your figures to the budgets. So let me show you one that I've done earlier. So if I show you the figures for June 2015. Let's say we want to look at June 2015. I picked that date because I put a lot of data into the program then. It's for a month. We want to compare it to nothing particularly, but we do want to compare it to our budget. Say we update. And what we've got here, we've got the profit and loss account for June 15. We've got the actual figures for June 15. We've got the budgeted figures that we put in. We've got the year-to-date figures for the period up to June and the budget figures. So we can see here, and this is all pretty much our demonstration, so we've got a profit for the month of 40,000 against the budgeted loss of 78,000. But didn't we do well? Same here, profit for the period to date, 130,000 against a budgeted loss of 230,000. So remember, anyone who's got user access, even read-only, can look at this. So anyone, the partners, practice managers, can look at this and they can say, why salary GP costs? Why were they £27,112? They've got access to this. They can click on this. They can see where the figures were. They can drill right back down to those original numbers, and they can see where the figures came from. And if we'd entered the original invoice in here, they can click on that and they can see the original invoice too. So if you've got the right user access, you can look at lots of stuff in here. This icon here, this is a great icon. These are files. I mentioned before that this program can be used as a paperless accounting program. So you can upload files and you can store them in here. You can have an extra statement. You can have as many different folders as you like. Call them whatever you like. There is an inbox here, but that's not something particularly I'm interested in. This email address here, this is really great. This email address for this program, this email address is unique to this program, and every Xero program will have its own unique email address. If you forward an email that has attachments on it to your Xero inbox email address, all the attachments will appear in here, and then you just got to drag them across. So I maintain the bookkeeping for a federation. The finance director of the federation, she emails me every month all the invoices that they've received. She emails them to me as attachments. I just forward that email to their Xero box, and then I just file them from there straight into the program. This is a very easy program to use. A couple of other things. Let's supposing you made a mistake. Let's supposing one of the transactions we posted was wrong. So let's pick one. Let's say we've got this 1st of July, the post office, £35. Here's the post office. We should have the post office come up. Let's say, and we put this into, let's supposing this is for stamps, and let's supposing we put this into staff pension costs, for instance. 1st of July 16. Okay, right. We made a mistake. That mistake needs to be corrected. We go to the account transactions. Let's go to the 1st of July. 1st of July, post office, there we are. Let's call that up. Yeah, there we are, staff pension. Oops, we want to fix it. Options, edit the transaction. No, actually, we want to call it stamps. We want to call it postage even. Printing, motion, stationery. That's better. Update. Can't really make too many mistakes in Xero. Any mistakes you do make can be fixed. Let's go back and just see what we've looked at. In the dashboard, there is this account watch list. If you have a particular cost or income that you're concerned about, perhaps locums, perhaps toners, you can actually flag up, you can tick that in the chart of accounts that you want to have it showing up on this dashboard, so you can see at any one time how much money you're spending on that cost. We've got our petty cash. We've pretty much looked at that. We've looked at the sales, how to issue a sales invoice, purchases, inventory. Probably not necessarily appropriate for this demonstration, but you can record and you can control your stock. So you can control your drug stock. You can actually keep track of what items come in and what items go out. Very useful. Lots of practices don't lose money or don't maximize their income when it comes to their drugs. Payroll is a separate exercise. The reports, there's lots of different reports you can do in here. Mainly the profit and loss account is going to be useful. Age payables, age receivables. Aged is an accountant's term for people who you owe money to, people who owe you money. I click on age receivables, you can see at any one time a whole list of who owes you money and how long they've been outstanding. Very useful for making sure that you are paid for all the things that you have invoiced. And the settings we looked at before, very briefly. We looked at the chart of accounts. That's when I added in the milk. Users, how we control the users. Tracking. A word about tracking. What you can do within Xero is you can kind of subdivide your profit and loss account. You can pin together all the various incomes and expenses that relate to an activity. So in here, for instance, we've got 2 categories. We have different surgeries, the north, south, east, and the main surgery. These are different categories. And we've got another one for medical reports. So if you were running, say, a travel clinic, you might want to put that in here. What you're going to do is that every time there's a source of income or an expense that comes to any of these things, you can tag it. And having tagged it, you can then do a report for that particular category. So although your costs and your income will be coded to the main code from the chart of accounts, so salaries will go into salaries in the chart of accounts, you'll be able to divide that up between the various different branches and then run a report for that branch. I show you easily and quickly in here. We're reconciling some more items. This post office bill of £124. Okay, that's the post office. Post office. And we're going to say that's postage, stationery. This was for the This was for the East Branch surgery, and this was for none of these things. So we'll just leave that out. When I click OK here, This cost goes into printing, postage and stationery, just as we would expect it to, but it also will be allocated to the East Branch surgery. So I can then run a report for my various different activities, and it will allocate this cost to the East Branch surgery. If I go to the profit and loss account, and I want to pick show a date range. That was, let's say, go back to the beginning of the year. January update. We want to compare surgeries. We have got the East surgery, East Branch, I think it was. £124 postage has been allocated there. And of course, the more you build up, the more you'll have all this data here. Some practices have activities that they do that they don't necessarily add to their profits. But this is a way of actually tracking how well they're doing with any one of their particular activities. That's a very brief overview of how Xero works. The way we are helping our clients with this is that we are able to provide all our clients with the Xero program. We run a half-day essentials training course, which is £600, and for that cost you get to set up your practice program in our training suite with our certified Xero trainer, and we will show you how to do things like set up the Exeter statements in here. We will show you how to deal with payroll and answer any questions that you need to get you going. We'll also show you where you can get extra help, either through Xero itself, through our own dedicated Ramsey Cloud website, which has lots of useful tips on how to use Xero, and some of the Xero.tv, quite a useful link. They have a number of how-to videos to go through this, and also how we can help you by supporting you with a program that we've set up once you have taken out the training and you are up and running. Thank you for listening. I hope this has been useful, and enjoy your Xero.